I always thought Hakeem Olajuwon had the craziest career of any NBA superstar. Played soccer in Nigeria, picked up basketball as a teenager, had a growth spurt, somehow never lost his soccer footwork, came to the University of Houston, found a low post mentor by the name of Moses Malone. You might have heard of him. Figured out how to thrive in a new country, got drafted by his hometown Rockets, turned into an absolute killer, won 2 titles, went down as one of the 15 best players ever. And in my basketball book, I wrote the following. Add everything up, and here are your odds that we'll see another Hakeem Olajuwon. A cajillion, pillion, gazillion, frizillion, frigillion million to 1. Well, Joel Embiid's path to stardom, nearly as unlikely. Hakeem, Nigeria. Embiid, Cameroon. Hakeem, soccer. Embiid, volleyball. Like Hakeem, Embiid doesn't start messing around with basketball until age 15. Moves to Florida. 2 years of prep school games. Lands for a year at the University of Kansas. By the spring of 2014, with only 4 years of basketball under his belt, Embiid somehow is about to become the NBA's #1 overall pick. And if you stop it right there, it's an absolutely crazy story. But it's not that crazy, right? Hakeem paved the way. Hakeem made the Joel Embiid story seem, conceivable? Well, here's what became inconceivable. Everything that happened to Joel Embiid over the next 8 years. How does someone reach their potential as a superstar while also giving us a career littered with what ifs and almost and holy shits and why did that have to happen? And how is almost none of this his fault? How did the NBA's most overpowering player become its most sympathetic figure? I like Joel Embiid. I root for Joel Embiid. I feel bad for Joel Embiid, and I'm a Celtic fan. How did we get here? Go back to the spring of 2014. He's going to be the first pick in the draft. He's going to Cleveland. It's happening. We don't know that LeBron is going there yet. That's 2 months away. We don't know that LeBron, Kyrie, and Embiid might actually be a thing. So what happens? A week before the draft, Embiid suffers a stress fracture in his right foot. Uh-oh. I was one of ESPN's studio guys for that draft. I said on the air, I still thought Embiid should have gone first. I thought he was a 7-foot Serge Ibaka. By the way, I was wrong. He grew. He became a 7'2" Serge Ibaka, but better. Anyway, Cleveland got scared. They take Wiggins. Milwaukee gets scared. They take Jabari Parker. Incredibly, the best guy in the draft falls to number 3 at Philadelphia. So what if Embiid never breaks his foot? Does Cleveland keep him? Would LeBron have wanted to give him a test drive as a rookie, or do they deal him right away to Minnesota for Kevin Love like they did with Wiggins? Here's my hot take. I don't even know if it's that hot. I think they keep Embiid. LeBron, basketball savant, works out with Embiid a couple times, spends some time with him, starts thinking, God damn, this guy's a monster. This might be another 5 titles for me. I just can't see LeBron signing off on trading Embiid. I can't. So instead of teaming up with one of the 3 greatest players who ever played basketball, Embiid instead becomes the poster boy of the process. And he doesn't play for 2 whole seasons. The foot, the knee, the back. Was this Greg Oden 2.0? Were they being overly cautious? We didn't know. They finished 28 and 136 without him in those 2 seasons. They take Jahlil Okafor and Ben Simmons with 2 top 3 picks. They bastardize the sport. They trigger the NBA to eventually change its lottery rules. They cause NBA fans to morph into 2 camps, pro-process, anti-process. I was anti-process. Well, what's a weirder situation for young Joel Embiid? Nothing. Plays 31 games in his 3rd year in 2017. Looks kind of awesome. Got some Rookie of the Year buzz. Philly starts getting some Team of the Future buzz. Somehow they end up with another top 3 pick, and oh boy, they trade up for Markelle Fultz. But still, we're wondering stuff. How good can Embiid be? Can he stay in the court? What did those 786 minutes mean? Was he teasing us? 2018 happens. Boom. Plays 63 games, averages 23 and 11, leads the Sixers to 52 wins. Remember that? Remember the Philly process party? The process has been vindicated. You guys laughed at us. Who's laughing now? Well, I'm still laughing at Fultz, but go ahead. They fumble away a winnable round 2 series to Boston, then reboot the following year with Jimmy Butler and a new GM. Big Jimmy Butler trade. Round 2, Toronto, 7 games of war. One iconic Kawhi shot.
Is this the dagger?
So long, Philly. It's the closest Embiid ever comes to a title, at least so far. We don't know that yet. We just know that at that point, Embiid's morphed into a true franchise center. He averaged 27 and 13 in the regular season. Those are Shaq numbers. He's also the most likable young NBA star other than maybe Giannis. So this worked out great, right? Not really. That summer, Butler dumps Philly for Miami. We have the weird bubble season. Philly gets swept by Boston. Coach change, finally. Doc Rivers comes in. Lots of hot takes. Did the process really work? Are we sure Simmons and Embiid can play together? Why isn't Embiid in better shape? Is a promising Sixers era destined to be a letdown? Well, last year, the East belongs to the Nets, and then all of a sudden it doesn't. Injuries, the great equalizer. Everything lines up nicely suddenly for either Joel Embiid or Giannis Antetokounmpo. One of them will make the 2021 finals. It is happening, and it's Giannis. It's not Embiid. It's Giannis because Philly chokes in the Atlanta series. Simmons melts down to the point that after Game 7, Doc won't even give him a void of confidence as a point guard. Oh, hell breaks loose. Simmons demands a trade. Philly says no. Simmons leaves. Clutch gets involved. They try to bully Philly into trading him the same way they bullied New Orleans with Anthony Davis. Doesn't work. Staring contest. Nobody blinks. Preseason. Nobody blinks. Season starts. No Simmons. Meanwhile, Embiid looks around and says, fuck it. Cranks out another awesome season. These last 2 years, he's averaged 29 and 11 with 51, 38, 84 shooting splits. Shooting over 50%, almost 40% from three. His per 36 numbers put him with the likes of Kareem and Shaq and Moses. You might have heard of those guys. He's also a legitimately impactful defensive presence. He's an absolute bitch to defend at the end of games. He's one of the best 8 guys in the league, and he's doing without Simmons. He's Batman, only if Batman was trying to keep Gotham safe with Robin sulking in the Batcave. And if you add everything up, it's one of the dumbest situations for any NBA superstar in eons. Remember, Philly literally threw away 4 seasons, 4, so they could land a superstar. And guess what? They actually did. And somehow he doesn't have enough friggin' help, even though they had 3 other top 3 picks, even though they had about 278 first-round picks. What happened? Here's how crazy the Ben Simmons piece is. We haven't seen an NBA star throw away an entire season of paychecks since Gus Williams, my guy, held out in Seattle in 1981. And that was an absolute travesty. That accomplished nothing other than probably keeping Gus out of the Hall of Fame. I'm still mad about it. Well, Simmons was supposed to earn $33 million this season. He's already set half of that money on fire. He's not getting paid. It's gone. He'll never get it back. And it's still unclear what he's trying to tell us. He doesn't want to play for the Sixers anymore because Rivers embarrassed him. He doesn't want to get booed by the fans. He lost his confidence as long as he's wearing a Philly uniform. I mean, what's going on here? If it's a mental health issue, then how does that work for the 29 other teams who might want to trade for him? If Sacramento deals for him tomorrow, his mental health suddenly becomes fine. So it's a conditional mental health issue just related to Philly? For someone making $33 million a year and climbing in a league with a salary cap, how does this work? Well, the 76ers did all the math, and they still want Simmons to come back because they know when Simmons plays, they're one of the NBA's best defensive teams. They're one of the better rebounding teams. They're one of the better transition teams. They have size. They'd have an actual chance to win the title. And if you replace him with anyone other than one of the best 30 players, that is no longer the case. Well, nobody wants to trade a top 30 player for him. They're not getting Giannis, Steph, Luka, LeBron, Ja, Durant, Booker, Trey, Towns, Mitchell, Tatum, Harden, hold that thought, Butler, Davis, Bam, Jokic, DeRozan, Levine, Jalen, Beal. I just named 20 guys. They're not getting valuable vets on contenders like CP3, Middleton, Draymond, Drew, Gobert, Clay. That's up to 26. They're not getting valuable young stars from teams that like those young stars. Guys like Mobley, LaMelo, Garland, Cade, Giddey, Barnes, even Kuminga, Edwards, Wagner, Ayton, Jaren Jackson, Brandon Ingram. You're not getting those guys. Well, now we're up to 38 guys. Injured stars, Kawhi, Zion, Murray, Paul George, Porter. They don't make sense for either side for a variety of reasons. They're not trading for Kyrie. I sure hope not. That's 44 guys who don't make sense in a Ben Simmons trade. So would Philly completely overpay for an injured Dame? I mean, maybe. That's how grim this is. Trying to talk a semi-tanking Portland team into Simmons and Maxey and 100 first-round picks for a 32-year-old little guy with a fucked up abdomen. And that semi-tanking team is probably saying, no, thanks. We're good. Which brings us back to Embiid in year 8 of the weirdest career for any modern NBA superstar. Again, played 786 minutes total his first 3 seasons. And now he's as reliable as for 32 minutes a game as anyone in the league. He's played with 2 All-Stars. One fled after a year. The other won't play at all. He played with 3 other top 3 picks, Simmons, Fultz, Okafor. None of them are on the 76ers right now. His best teammate right now is Curry, only it's the wrong one. Shout out to Seth. I love Seth, but I mean, the other one's Steph. He's had 2 coaches. One will never get hired again. The other has blown more playoff series in Game 7s than anyone ever. That's true. His team's best trade asset can't really be traded unless there's some luck. We'll talk about that in a second. His team's second best trade asset is Tobias Harris. Only he's too expensive to fetch anything. His best chance for the finals is the puncher's chance of Brooklyn imploding this spring, then Harden bullying his way to Philly just to run from Kyrie. There's already a lot of rumors about this week. But even if that somehow happens, Embiid is still betting on Brooklyn, A, actually wanting Simmons in a trade based on what we've seen for the last 9 months, and B, betting that Harden can bulldoze his way to Philly, and C, he's a 33-year-old superstar who's been 20 pounds overweight for the last 2 years, and now this is your guy, sink or swim. If this doesn't work out, you're shot. Well, I ask you again, do you feel bad for Joel Embiid? Because I sure do. In 2018, the spring, there was an extended moment during Game 5 of the Boston-Philly series when Embiid destroyed the Celtics for 3 solid minutes. I was there. Couldn't stop him. Even worse, he knew we couldn't stop him. He was looking at the fans, making faces, the whole thing. It's a helpless feeling when that happens. When you're enjoying a playoff game with 18,000 friends and suddenly the night turns into a horror movie. An unstoppable villain emerges. You can't fend him off. You can't do anything. Kareem, Andrew Toney, Dominique, Vinnie Johnson, Isaiah, MJ, Kobe, Wade, LeBron. I've been in the building for a few of those. Toney was the hardest one. Game 7, 1982. Couldn't fucking stop him. Murdered us. Killed us. Had to trade for Dennis Johnson just to make up for what happened in 1982. LeBron was the bleakest. Game 6, 2012. Over by the second quarter. You always know when it's happening. And in that Philly game, way back when, 2018, you could feel it happening with Embiid just for a couple minutes there. And then he got tired and the moment was gone. Well, he's at a different level now. Better shape, more polished offensively, ready for the biggest stage possible. But it's not happening this season. Not unless this Ben Simmons situation miraculously resolves itself. Don't hold your breath. There's some urgency here too. Embiid is 7'2", close to 300 pounds. And basketball, as we know, is an unforgiving sport for big guys. We know this. We know it from Yao, from Walton, Odin, Sampson, Sabonis, countless others. Giant human beings aren't really meant to run and jump on a basketball court for 3,000 minutes a year. The odds are against them, always. So how many more healthy Embiid seasons will we get? How many more years will Embiid be poised for greatness? Will the weirdest and most improbable career of any 21st century NBA superstar just keep getting weirder and more improbable? You can't even say it's part of the process anymore because this isn't a process. It's just weird. It's Joel Embiid, age 27, in his prime, with the odds working against him yet again.